After Malcolm-Jamal's death, Lisa Bonet reveals awful truth about Bill Cosby. The silence broke like a dam bursting. For decades, Lisa Bonet had kept her mouth shut about the darkness she felt on the Cosby Show set. But when Malcolm-Jamal Warner died in that tragic drowning accident in Costa Rica, something inside her snapped. The grief, the memories, the years of keeping secrets, it all came pouring out. And what she revealed about Bill Cosby will change everything you thought you knew about America's most beloved TV family. Malcolm-Jamal Warner died on July 20th, 2025, at just 54 years old. He was on vacation with his daughter in Costa Rica when he got caught in a strong current at Playa Cocles. People on the beach tried to save him, but by the time the Red Cross got there, it was too late. Chat and looking back were broke and dust. The official cause of death was drowning, asphyxiation by submersion. Just like that, America's favorite TV son was gone. But here's where it gets complicated. Malcolm wasn't just any actor who died tragically young. He was Theo Huxtable, the heart and soul of The Cosby Show for 8 years. And more importantly, he was one of the few cast members who'd started speaking out about Bill Cosby's alleged crimes. In a 2015 interview, Malcolm said watching his mentor face those sexual assault allegations was painful, but he also said the show's legacy had been tarnished. That was a pretty brave thing to say when some of his other co-stars were still defending Cosby. When news of Malcolm's call proved, death broke. The reactions from the Cosby Show family were weird. Bill Cosby stayed silent for 2 whole days. When he finally spoke to a reporter, all he said was, "I'm praying for his soul, but I don't want to speak about Malcolm right now." Fans thought that was cold, especially coming from the man who played Malcolm's TV father for 8 years. Even stranger, reports started surfacing that Malcolm had been distancing himself from Cosby for years. He'd turned down reunion projects and avoided events where Cosby would be present. That's when Lisa Bonet decided she couldn't stay quiet anymore. For years, while other cast members like Felicia Rashad and Kesha Knight Pulliam defended Cosby, Lisa had remained mysteriously silent. She never joined the chorus of voices calling the accusers liars. She never posted supportive messages about her TV dad. She just said nothing, which, looking back, spoke volumes. But now, with Malcolm gone, Lisa's finally ready to tell the whole truth. And honestly, what she's revealing is making everyone question everything they thought they knew about what really went on behind the scenes of America's most wholesome TV show. Let's rewind for a second and talk about The Cosby Show and why it mattered so much. When the show premiered in 1984, it was revolutionary. Here was a successful, loving Black family on primetime TV, something that had never really existed before. The Huxtables weren't stereotypes or caricatures. Cliff was a doctor, Claire was a lawyer, and their kids were smart, funny, and relatable. The show broke barriers and changed how America saw Black families, a role model. For years, Malcolm defended the show's legacy even when Cosby's reputation started crumbling. But according to Lisa, Malcolm had started remembering things differently in his final years. She says he'd been working on a memoir called Theo's Truth, What You Didn't See on Thursday Nights, a tell-all about his time on The Cosby Show. And apparently, this book was going to expose some uncomfortable truths about what really happened on set. Lisa claims Malcolm had confided in her about some disturbing memories that had been coming back to him. Not necessarily about sexual assault, but about power dynamics, about control, about the way Cosby treated people when the cameras weren't rolling. Malcolm allegedly told Lisa that Cosby could be manipulative and cruel, especially to the younger cast members and female guest stars. Now, Lisa's also revealing that she and Malcolm had remained close over the years, despite their characters being siblings on the show. They'd actually had crushes on each other as teenagers. Malcolm admitted this publicly back in 2014, saying Lisa was his Cosby crush, but he never had a shot. What he didn't say publicly was that they'd stayed in touch as adults, supporting each other through the complicated feelings about their shared TV past. According to Lisa, Malcolm had been struggling with guilt in his final years, He felt like he'd been complicit in protecting Cosby's image, even after the allegations started coming out. In a 2015 interview, Malcolm said, "It was just as painful to watch my friend and mentor go through this as it was to hear the accuser's stories." But Lisa says, privately, Malcolm was starting to believe the women who came forward. The timeline here is important. The first major wave of sexual assault allegations against Bill Cosby started surfacing around 2014. By 2018, Cosby had been convicted of sexual assault, though that conviction was later overturned on a technicality. Throughout this whole period, Malcolm was publicly supportive of Cosby, while privately having doubts. Lisa says Malcolm told her about uncomfortable moments he'd witnessed on set, times when Cosby would be alone with young female guest stars or production assistants, times when Cosby would make comments about women that made Malcolm uncomfortable, even as a teenager, times when people would leave Cosby's dressing room looking upset or shaken. At the time, Malcolm didn't understand what he was seeing. He was just a kid, and Cosby was this father figure who everyone respected and admired. But as an adult, especially after hearing the accuser's stories, those memories started making sense in a very dark way. Lisa also reveals that Malcolm had been in therapy, trying to process these memories and figure out how to handle them responsibly. He was torn between loyalty to someone who'd been like a father to him and a growing belief that Cosby had hurt people. Lisa says Malcolm was considering going public with his concerns, which would have been devastating for Cosby's remaining defenders. But then Malcolm died. And Lisa can't shake the feeling that the timing was convenient. She's not accusing anyone of anything, she's very clear about that, but she's asking questions. Like why Malcolm suddenly decided to take a solo vacation to Costa Rica when he'd been talking about staying dose to home to work on his book. Like why he went swimming alone in an area known for dangerous currents when he was usually very cautious about water safety. Lisa's not claiming it was murder or anything dramatic, but she is saying that Malcolm's death meant the one person who might have had the courage to speak out against Cosby, the one person who could have provided insider testimony about what really happened on the Cosby Show set, is now gone forever. And honestly, when you look at the bigger picture, it's pretty convenient for a lot of powerful people. The Cosby Show was worth hundreds of millions of dollars in syndication deals. NBC, Viacom, and other networks had huge financial interests in keeping that show's reputation intact. If Malcolm had gone public with damaging stories about Cosby, it could have destroyed what was left of the show's commercial value. Lisa's also talking about the psychological damage that being part of the Cosby Show caused for some cast members. She mentions how she was essentially fired from the show after doing a nude scene in the movie Angel Heart. Officially, it was about creative differences. But Lisa says Cosby was furious about her tarnishing the family image and made her life miserable until she left. She talks about the pressure all the kids felt to be perfect representatives of Black excellence, how they couldn't make mistakes or show any normal teenage rebellion because they were carrying the weight of representing their entire race on television, how Cosby would lecture them about being role models while allegedly engaging in behavior that was anything but exemplary. Lisa's not claiming there was a cover-up, but she is pointing out that the investigation was surprisingly quick for the death of such a high-profile person. Usually, when celebrities die under unusual circumstances, there's more scrutiny. More questions asked, more dots connected. But in Malcolm's case, everyone seemed eager to accept the simple explanation and move on. Tragic accident, case closed. Nothing more to see here. Now Lisa's left wondering what Malcolm would have wanted her to do with the information she has. She knows things about Cosby, about the show, about what happened behind the scenes. But without Malcolm to corroborate her stories, without whatever evidence he might have found, she's just one person, making accusations against a powerful man who still has defenders. The other Cosby Show cast members haven't been supportive of Lisa's decision to speak out. Felicia Rashad hasn't commented publicly, but sources close to her say she thinks Lisa is grieving and not thinking clearly. Kesha Knight Pulliam has posted some cryptic social media messages about letting the dead rest in peace and not dishonoring memories. Even some of Malcolm's friends from outside the show have suggested that Lisa might be processing her grief in unhealthy ways. They point out that she's always been the most willing to criticize Cosby, so maybe she's just using Malcolm's death as an excuse to finally unleash years of pent-up anger. But Lisa insists this isn't about anger or grief or settling old scores. She says it's about justice, about making sure that Malcolm's final mission to tell the truth about what happened on the Cosby Show set doesn't die with him. She's also thinking about other potential victims. If Cosby was inappropriate with cast members, guest stars, or production staff during the show's 8-year run, those people deserve to have their experiences acknowledged. They deserve to know they weren't alone and they weren't imagining things. The challenge is that most of this happened decades ago. Memories fade, evidence disappears, and people die. The legal system has already mostly moved on from the Cosby cases, and frankly, a lot of people are tired of hearing about it. They want to remember the Cosby Show as the groundbreaking, positive product of a potentially predatory environment. Lisa understands that her speaking out might hurt people who still find comfort in the show. She knows there are fans who don't want to hear anything negative about their childhood memories, but she also believes that truth matters more than comfortable illusions. And the truth, according to Lisa, is that the Cosby Show set was not the warm, family-like environment it appeared to be. It was a workplace where powerful men could abuse that power without consequences, where young people were manipulated and controlled, where secrets were kept to protect careers and financial interests. Malcolm-Jamal Warner was going to expose that truth, but now he's gone, and Lisa Bonet is the only one left willing to speak. Whether anyone believes her, whether anyone cares, whether it changes anything at all, that's up to us. The question is, what are we going to do with this information? Are we going to dismiss it as the rantings of a grieving co-star who never liked Bill Cosby anyway? Or are we going to take seriously the possibility that Malcolm Warner died with secrets that could have changed everything we thought we knew about one of television's most beloved shows? Because if Lisa's right, if Malcolm really was on the verge of revealing something explosive about Bill Cosby and the Cosby Show, and his death wasn't just a tragic accident, Lisa's not asking us to take her word for everything. She's asking us to ask questions, to look at the timing, to wonder why Malcolm's book will never be published and why his research will never see the light of day, to consider the possibility that sometimes tragic accidents happen at very convenient times for very powerful people, and maybe, just maybe, to remember that the truth has a way of coming out eventually, even when the people who know it are no longer around to tell it themselves. So what do you think? Is Lisa Bonet revealing long-buried truths about Bill Cosby and the Cosby Show? Or is she a grieving friend who's letting her imagination run wild? Let me know in the comments what you make of all this, because honestly, the more I dig into this story, the more questions I have. And if you want to keep up with developments in this case and others like it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because something tells me this story is far from over.